Have you ever felt that sudden, jarring jolt, the sensation of your body physically plunging into a bottomless void? It's that heavy magnetic pull toward unconsciousness that feels less like drifting off and more like falling. Most people dismiss it as a simple quirk of tiredness, but there is a profound neurological mechanism at play here. In the next few minutes, we will uncover why your brain creates this falling sensation, and how you can actually master the switch between wakefulness and sleep. It feels like a glitch in your reality, a momentary lapse where the ground seems to vanish beneath your feet. You aren't just getting sleepy, your brain is actively struggling to decide if it should stay online or shut down for the night. This isn't just a random sensation, but a sophisticated biological conflict between two different parts of your mind. Understanding this hidden battle will change how you view your own consciousness. By the end, you'll understand why this happens and what it reveals about your brain's survival instincts. The first thing to understand is that your brain doesn't have a single off switch like a lamp in a room. Instead, it operates through a constant tug-of-war between two primary systems, the ascending and descending pathways of arousal. One system wants to keep you alert to every sound and movement. The other is trying to pull you into a state of deep, restorative rest. When these two systems reach a perfect equilibrium, a point of micro-instability, the sensation of falling occurs. It is the physical manifestation of your consciousness flickering like a dying candle. Think of it as a neurological no-man's land where the signals to stay awake are becoming too weak to hold back the tide of sleep. This is often called a hypnagogic state, a transitional zone between the conscious and unconscious worlds. In this gray area, your brain begins to experience microsleeps, fractions of a second where parts of your cortex simply go offline. Because these lapses are so brief, your mind tries to interpret them as something more tangible. It interprets the loss of sensory input as a physical drop into space. But here is the part most people never learn. This feeling isn't just about being tired, it's about your brain's threat detection system. When you begin to drift, your internal monitors notice a drop in neural activity and interpret it as a potential danger or a loss of control. To alert you, the brain triggers a tiny spike of adrenaline, a literal jolt of electricity to keep you conscious. This sudden spike causes a momentary drop sensation, as your nervous system overcorrects for the perceived lapse in awareness. Imagine a bridge where the cables are fraying. Every time a cable snaps, you feel the deck lurch downward. Each fall you experience is your brain's way of testing the boundaries of its own grip on reality. If the falling feeling is intense enough, it can even trigger a full-blown hypnic jerk, that sudden muscle twitch that makes your limbs jump. This isn't just an accident. It's an ancient survival mechanism designed to keep you from falling into a deep sleep in an unsafe environment. Your brain is essentially screaming at you to wake up before you lose your grip entirely. However, why does it specifically feel like falling? The answer lies in how our brains process spatial orientation and gravity during the transition to sleep. As you drift off your vestibular system, the inner ear sense of balance begins to lose its steady input from your conscious mind. Because the brain can no longer perfectly map where your body is in space, it interprets this spatial confusion as a literal fall. It's a sensory hallucination caused by a gap in data. When the brain doesn't know where you are, it assumes you are falling. This leads us to a fascinating phenomenon known as proprioceptive drifting. As your muscles relax deeply, the boundaries between your body and the environment begin to blur in your mind's eye. If you are leaning against a chair or lying on a bed, the loss of muscle tone can cause your brain to lose track of where your limbs end and the furniture begins. When that boundary blurs suddenly, the brain panics and generates a fall sensation to re-establish your physical boundaries. It is an emergency signal sent by your subconscious to re-anchor you to the ground. But here's where it gets even stranger. The falling can sometimes be triggered by specific environmental triggers. If you are in a very quiet room, any tiny change in air pressure or a slight shift in your head's position can be magnified by your brain. Because your conscious mind is drifting away, these minor inputs are amplified into major sensations. A slight tilt of the head becomes a tumble down a hill. A soft exhale becomes a plunge into a void. Your brain is essentially over-amplifying tiny signals because it's losing its ability to filter them out. Some researchers believe these sensations are linked to the early stages of REM, rapid eye movement sleep. Even before you fall into a dream, your brain may begin to generate microdreams or hypnagogic hallucinations. These aren't full dreams yet, but they are fragments of imagery and sensation that can be startlingly vivid. If one of these fragments happens to involve movement or spatial shift, it translates into the feeling of falling. You aren't just drifting off, you are actually catching a glimpse of the dream world as it begins to manifest. Consider how your brain treats fear as a primary motivator for survival. The feeling of falling is one of our most primal fears, rooted in our ancestral history where falling meant death. By creating a sensation of falling when you are too tired to function, your brain provides an evolutionary alarm. It warns you that your cognitive faculties are declining and that you are no longer capable of navigating the world safely. It's not just a weird sensation. It is a sophisticated safety system designed to keep you alive in a dangerous world. If your own mind fascinates you and you want to understand the deeper mysteries of how your brain creates reality, subscribe. There's a new journey into the human mind every week. Now, let's look at why some people experience this more intensely than others. Factors like high stress or anxiety can hypersensitize your nervous system, making it jumpy and reactive to these transitions. When you are stressed, your brain is on a hair trigger. Any hint of drifting into sleep is treated as a massive threat. This causes the fall to feel more violent and frequent because your amygdala is overreacting to the lack of input. Another factor is the role of neurochemistry, specifically the balance between GABA and glutamate. GABA is the primary inhibitory neurotransmitter that helps you relax and fall asleep, while glutamate is the excitatory one that keeps you awake. When these two chemicals are in a state of flux during your evening routine, the falling sensation becomes more pronounced. It's the chemical equivalent of a seesaw tilting back and forth. Your brain is literally fluctuating between go and stop, creating those moments where you feel like you're tumbling through a void. Some people also experience this more often due to their physical environment. For example, if you are falling asleep while sitting upright or in a position that isn't perfectly supported, your muscles will fight to keep you upright even as your mind tries to shut down. This physical struggle between your muscles and your brain creates noise in the nervous system. That noise can be interpreted by your dreaming mind as a sense of instability or falling. The more your body has to work to maintain its position, the more dramatic the transition sensations become. Interestingly, these feelings are often highest in people who are overtired. When you push past the point of exhaustion, your brain enters a state of hyperarousal to compensate for your fatigue. This creates a jagged, unstable transition into sleep rather than a smooth, rolling decline. Instead of drifting like a boat on a calm lake, you are essentially trying to fall asleep while your brain is still firing emergency signals. The resulting sensation is much more jarring and can feel like a sudden drop because the transition isn't smooth. It's a series of tiny jumps. To understand the full scope, we must also look at how your brain processes proprioceptive data when you are tired. Proprioception is your body's hidden sense. It's how you know where your limbs are without looking at them. When you are exhausted, the signals from your muscles and joints become noisy or faint. Your brain has to work harder to interpret this weak signal, and it often fills in the gaps with its own imagination. If it can't find a clear signal of where your body is located, it might default to a sensation of movement, specifically falling, to alert you to the lack of clarity. Some psychologists suggest that these sensations are also linked to autonomic shifts. As you fall asleep, your heart rate slows and your breathing becomes more rhythmic. This shift in your internal state is a massive change for the nervous system to process. In some cases, this sudden drop in physiological activity can be misinterpreted by the brain as a physical loss of altitude. It's like a plane losing altitude because your body's internal engine is slowing down. Your mind interprets it as a literal descent into space. But there is a silver lining to this strange experience. The fact that you feel like you are falling means your brain's guardian systems are fully functional. It shows that your mind is highly attuned to the transition between states of consciousness. It's not a malfunction, it's an extremely high-fidelity warning system. Your brain is so good at monitoring your state of being that it can detect the very moment you begin to lose control of your conscious thoughts and acts instantly to jerk you back into focus. There's also an interesting connection to our history as primates. Our ancestors who were forced to sleep on high branches or in precarious positions developed brains that were highly sensitive to falling. Even though we live in modern homes with soft beds, the ancient parts of our brain haven't updated their software yet. They still think a drop in alertness is a sign that we are about to fall from a tree. The sensation you feel is a ghost of an ancient survival instinct, still trying to protect you from a danger that no longer exists. What if this feeling isn't something to be feared? Instead, it can be seen as a moment of profound connection to your biology. It is a reminder that your body is constantly working behind the scenes to manage your safety and comfort. When you feel that drop, you are actually experiencing one of the most complex systems in the known universe, your brain's transition management system. It is a masterpiece of evolution, designed to shepherd you safely from the waking world into the restorative sanctuary of sleep. So how can you manage these sensations if they bother you? One simple way is to address the noise in your system by creating a more consistent routine. If your brain knows exactly when it's time to sleep, the transition becomes smoother and less of an emergency. By lowering your stress levels before bed, you reduce the number of alerts your amygdala sends out. When your body feels safe and prepared, the fall often becomes a gentle slide rather than a sudden drop. The system doesn't need to scream as loud because it knows you're okay. Another practical step is to optimize your physical environment for better proprioception. If you find the falling feeling most intense when sitting up, try lying down earlier or using more supportive pillows. By giving your body a stable, well-supported position, you reduce the amount of work your muscles have to do to stay balanced. When your body is perfectly supported, there is less noise for your brain to interpret as instability. You are essentially silencing the alarm because the house is no longer perceived as under threat. You can also practice some simple mindfulness techniques to calm your nervous system before bed. Deep, diaphragmatic breathing signals to your brain that you are safe, which lowers the alert level of your amygdala. When your nervous system is calm, it doesn't interpret a drop in alertness as an emergency. You are essentially training your brain to be less jumpy during the transition phase. Over time, this can make the moments between wakefulness and sleep much smoother and more peaceful. Think about it this way: every time you experience that fall, your brain is performing a diagnostic check. It's checking your heart, your breath, and your awareness to see if they are still functioning properly. When they aren't quite enough to keep you conscious, it gives you a little nudge, a push into the next phase of rest. Instead of viewing it as a glitch, try seeing it as a dialogue between your conscious mind and your deep, ancient subconscious. It's your brain saying, "I'm taking over now, you can let go." Understanding this can actually change how you feel when it happens. Next time that sensation of falling hits you, try to simply observe it without reacting. Recognize it as your brain's safety guard checking in on you. Instead of a moment of panic, it becomes a moment of curiosity, a realization of the incredible complexity of your own mind. You are witnessing a biological masterpiece in action, one that has been refined over millions of years to ensure your survival through the night. Let's recap what we've learned about this strange sensation. First, it is caused by the struggle between two systems in the brain, one for alertness and one for rest. Second, it is often triggered by microsleeps where your brain momentarily loses its grip on consciousness. Third, it's a survival mechanism designed to warn you of falling or loss of control. And finally, it can be managed by reducing stress, ensuring proper physical support, and calming your nervous system before bed. It isn't a flaw, it is a feature of the human experience. In the end, these moments are more than just biology. They are glimpses into our own evolution. They remind us that we carry the history of our ancestors within our neurons and the legacy of their fears in our subconscious. The next time you feel like you're falling, remember that it's your brain's way of looking out for you. It is a guardian, ensuring that as you leave the day behind, you do so safely. Some people find this feeling even more common when they are traveling or in new environments. This is because your brain is already on high alert, making its safety guard much more sensitive. If you travel often, it might be helpful to create a familiar sensory bubble with scents or sounds that tell your brain exactly where you are. When the environment feels constant, the internal alarm system can finally relax and let you drift away peacefully. We live in a world of noise, but our brains were built for the quiet signals of nature. Sometimes, the falling sensation is just your brain's way of trying to tune out the modern world and find its own internal rhythm. It wants you to reach that deep state where thoughts stop and restoration begins. Every time it offers you that nudge, it's offering you a doorway into the deeper parts of yourself, the places where dreams are born and memories are woven together. It's truly remarkable how much happens beneath the surface of our consciousness every single second. From the moment you wake up until you fall into your first dream, your brain is orchestrating a symphony of chemistry and electricity to keep you functioning. The fall is just one note in that massive, complex composition. It's a reminder that even when we feel alone in our thoughts, there is a vast, hidden machinery working tirelessly on our behalf. We still don't know everything about why the brain chooses this specific sensation. Why falling and not something else? It's one of those beautiful mysteries that keeps scientists and thinkers searching for answers. Perhaps it is tied to our visual processing, or perhaps it's just how our internal map of space translates a drop in alertness into a physical feeling. Regardless of the exact reason, the fact that we can experience it at all is a testament to the incredible complexity of human consciousness. When you think about it, falling is also a metaphor for letting go. It's the transition from the control of the day to the surrender of the night. By embracing the feeling as a sign of your brain's dedication to your safety, you can find peace in the process. You don't have to fight the fall, you only need to recognize that it is the bridge between two worlds. It's not a drop into nothingness, but a step into the next stage of your journey. So let me ask you, have you ever noticed any other strange sensations when you're drifting off? Maybe it's a sudden movement, a vivid image, or a feeling of being somewhere else entirely. Tell me about your experiences in the comments. Your stories help us map the hidden landscape of the human mind together. Your perspective is a piece of the puzzle we are trying to solve for everyone. Stay curious, there's so much more of your mind still to uncover.